What do you think, Grayson?
I think the irony is that what communists have been criticized for, by the right especially, is being anti-traditional.
Yeah, of course.
Being the kind of vanguard
Sure.
of just like abstract and anti-popular trends, whether it be the kind of drastic surgeries that he's speaking about, or other kind of just innovations in the way that we conceive of our social relations in general, between men and women, between kids and their parents, and so on.
Yeah.
And there's a degree to which the culture war is very important. And we don't have to go into it, but it is tied up with class warfare. But there's a lot of ways in which the culture war issues are used by our ruling establishment, by the right and the left, Democrats and the Republicans, so the right against itself. There's a way in which that's being used to just divide the American people's attention. I mean, the amount, for example, of culture war issues that this gets in the news has increased exponentially since the 2008 financial crisis. Now, why is that? It's because the elites are trying to distract from the fact that the American people are not getting a good deal. The inflation is out of the roof. We're getting dragged into more and more very dangerous scenarios that could engulf the whole world into a world war. So these issues serve to keep the American people divided amongst themselves, squabbling over petty issues. These cases are very extreme, but they're not widespread. The reason why the media pays so much attention to them, I think, is because, number one, it makes money, right? These are very lucrative stories. The other reason is that it keeps people dumb. It keeps them fighting over things that don't ultimately affect them. And I think this is a big trick that the ruling establishment has used to keep the American people docile and unorganized.
So is that a conspiracy?
You can call it what you want. I don't think conspiracies have to be exactly conscious.
Okay.
You don't have to imagine, even if it is the case, Davos, which are conspiring in a room.
So it doesn't have to be some people in a secret room planning exactly that we want American people to be dumb, so we do X and Y.
No, I think that you can look at a lot of politics, what people call the deep state, which has a reality. That doesn't necessarily mean some Illuminati room where people are conspiring. It just means a confluence of interests, which have the same class interests ultimately, is what a Marxist would say.
Yeah.
And that this forms a network which we can call a deep state, which is outside democratic accountability. It's the institutions of society, the bureaucracies, which are unelected, the various NGOs, which have a huge sway in both American and in world opinion. And you were speaking about the spread of wokeness across the world. It's spread within the United States too. I mean, this is something that is not necessarily widespread in America. It gets a lot of pushback. But it's the same billionaires, the same oligarchs, we can use this language, who are funding these very strange trends through their NGOs to keep the American people docile. But yeah.
Docile. So you want to have a fighting spirit.
We want a fighting spirit.
Fight against?
The establishment. Now, we think that that means giving the people an alternative, which they have lacked for decades. There was a strong American labor movement in the 1900s, but it failed.
Yeah.
Now, why did it fail? It failed for multiple reasons, but it primarily failed because the left was weak. The left ultimately was weak. It was beholden to the academy, to the institutions. And because of that, I think you have a lot of problems with the modern left being unable to fundamentally challenge the ruling elite.
The ruling elite. And the media, established media, they often accuse you guys of throwing daggers at George Soros unfairly, and you attacked him. And I think it's from a left, sort of American leftist position to say that people on the right are spewing conspiracy to, tarnish the reputation of open society, of George Soros. What do you think?
It's no more conspiracy.
No more conspiracy. It's open secret.
Yeah, it's open secret, but it's no more conspiracy to say that they are dividing up the American public on these issues. Or, in my case, when it came to the war in Ukraine, George Soros funded a bunch of media NGOs that got people banned for speaking out in a pro-Russian narrative. So that happened to me, but it's no more a conspiracy than I guess it is to point out the obvious fact that George Soros, Pierre Omidyar, these billionaires are behind a lot of the foreign influence meddling campaigns that they engage in through not just the CIA anymore, but through the National Endowment for Democracy, through the NED's various media organizations that they weaponize, even here in China. So I think it's very apparent what they're doing, and it's criminal. Unfortunately, they're the ones who make the laws, so they'll never, meet justice.